Jananeem Sharadam Devi Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhum Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Dear devotees, previous week we had a introduction to Vedanta, or the summary of the two Prakarana Granthas, introductory manuals, that is Tattva Bodha and Drugdrushya Viveka. And probably, of course, in the previous classes also, I used to always mention the word class. So I'm not giving lectures, we are having a class. So there is a fundamental difference between lectures and class, so that you have to be a bit aware and clear. And now again, from today onwards also, I'll be handling class or taking class, not giving the lectures. So this you have to keep it in the mind. And before going to discuss on Upanishads, I thought few more or maybe one or maybe two, some introductory classes are required for all of you, so that you can understand and probably start assimilating the Upanishadic ideas. Now, the philosophy is called in India or in Sanskrit language as Tattva Darshana. Tattva means it is a truth, it is from Tat. And Darshana means it comes from the Sanskrit word called Drush. Drush means it is to view or to experience. So, as Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan beautifully puts in his introduction to Indian philosophy, Darshana means it is view of reality, or it is the experience of the reality. Now we are trying to understand, or we will be entering into the Vedanta Darshana through Upanishads. So what is Darshana? Darshana means it is to see or to view or to experience. What to see, what to view, or what to experience, if you ask, it is about the absolute reality. So this is where the fundamental difference between Indian philosophy and the Western philosophy are the broad canvas. For the Western philosophy, it is always search for the truth, no doubt, but at the same time, it is an intellectual gymnasium. For example, with all due respect, the father of the modern Western philosophy, who is known as Bertrand Russell, he had one of the most immoral life. That's what people say. But in India, that is not acceptable. Philosopher means he should be ethical, he should be moral, and more or less he should be spiritual also. Why? Because for Indians or for Indian philosophical context, it is a way of life and it is a view of or experience of reality. So now, Darshana, you understood what does it mean. And also, if you have to call any philosophy or any school of philosophy as a Darshana, it consists, or the yardstick is, it has to fulfill three criteria, or it has to explain three criteria, 3 points. One is pramana, the instruments of knowledge, then prameya, the content or the subject of the knowledge or the philosophy which they are discussing, the subject matter or the content matter. The third is prayojana, what is I am going to benefit from that. So any school of philosophy, when the philosopher, when he says or when he declares that I am giving a darshana, when I am introducing a school of philosophy, if at all, from the classical, traditional Indian philosophical point of view, it has to fulfill three criteria. The philosopher has to very clearly state his views about the pramanas. What are the instruments or what are the valid sources of knowledge? For example, now I'm giving a class, or I'm handling a class, or I'm talking, and you are hearing. So here, what is the pramana? What is the instrument of knowledge? You are all, more or less, you are understanding what I'm speaking. So what is the instrument of knowledge? That is your Shravana Indriya. Your ear is an instrument of knowledge, ear inward, that is called Pratyaksha Pramana. It is called direct perception. Like that, there are six instruments of knowledge. That has to be how many they accept or how many they won't accept. Why? They have to clearly well define. It is nothing but it also part of epistemology. And the second is prameya, the content or the subject matter of the philosophy. What is the subject matter of the philosophy? It has to be very clearly well established. And when the six, when come to prameya vichara, it includes 6 items one has to discuss, more or less. One is about the nature of individual self, jivatma or atma, you can say. The nature of individual self has to be discussed or has to be explained. The second is the nature of supreme self. So after jivatma vichara, it also has to include paramatma vichara, the nature of supreme self. The third is jagat vichara, that is the nature of the empirical world. Either it is a permanent or temporary projection, creation, whatever it may be, they have to define, they have to give the explanation about the world, empirical world or the empirical universe. 3. And the fourth is the nature of bondage. Samsara, in a Sanskrit word, if you want me to call, samsara means it is a bondage. The same thing has been put in a Buddhism as a suffering. So what is the cause? What is the nature and cause for this suffering or for the bondage? One has to discuss. Fourth point. And the fifth point is moksha or mukti has to be discussed. The liberation. What is liberation? Emancipation, kaivalya, moksha, mukti. It has to be discussed. And the sixth item should be discussed under prameya is what? The way, the means to attain liberation. Mukti marga, moksha marga, by which one can attain liberation, one can get liberation, has to be discussed under prameya vichara. So one is pramana, the instruments of knowledge or the sources of knowledge. And the second is prameya, which is the subject matter or content of their philosophy. The third is prayojana. So what is the use, benefit by studying this philosophy? By studying Advaita Vedanta, what are you going to get? There's a standard often quoted shloka is there. The cessation of complete suffering and the attainment of everlasting bliss. Atyantika dukkha nivrutti paramananda prapti. Atyantika dukkha nivrutti. Nivrutti, removal, cessation. Cessation of what? Dukkha nivrutti. Cessation of unhappiness. Today, I went to counseling. I had some problem. I went to counseling. I'm okay today. I am okay yesterday. And I am okay tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, again, I may get into problem. So many times, whatever the solutions we get, by that, the problem can be temporarily removed, but it may not be permanently removed. Here, Atyantika Dukkha Nivrutti means the complete removal of the suffering. Then Parama Ananda Prapti. Prapti is attaining. Ananda means bliss. Parama, supreme bliss. This is what the prayojana, the benefit of Vedanta. Now, apart from this, we have got standard accepted in the classical philosophy 9 darshanas, 9 systems of philosophy or 9 schools of philosophy. Now, this has been broadly classified into 2 groups. One is Astika Darshana, the second is Nastika Darshana. Astika Darshana means orthodox schools, and Nastika Darshana is what unorthodox or unorthodox schools. So this differentiation is based on what? The differentiation is based on the acceptance of the authority of the Vedas. So whichever school of philosophy accepts the authority of Vedas, they're all termed under, they're all brought under category called Astika Darshanas. The philosophy which doesn't accept the authority of Vedas, they're all classified under Nastika Darshanas. Now, classically, most accepted, academically even taught is three Nastika Darshanas, three unorthodox schools of philosophy. The one is Charvaka philosophy, that is materialistic philosophy. Only whatever you see, whatever you perceive in this world, that alone is true, and they don't believe about rebirth, they don't believe about the permanent entity called self, they don't believe in God, existence of self, existence of reincarnation or rebirth. So just you have taken birth, enjoy. Once this body is perished, then you are not going to take any more birth. So runam krutva grutam pibet. Even by cheating, by taking, by using credit card, you enjoy your life. So whether you pay back the money or not, that is not an issue. And apart from that, there are two more sub schools which are considered as independent schools. Like one is Ajivika. There's a subtle difference between Charvaka and Ajivika. So Charvakas, they believe in free will, and Ajivikas, they don't believe even in the free will. So this is often some authors they discuss. Then the other is Jaina philosophy. They believe in Tirthankaras. Directly or indirectly, they believe in God somewhat, but they don't accept the authority of Vedas. That's why they are called Nastika Darshanas. So in the olden days, whether you believe in God or not, that was not a matter. If you believe in authority of Vedas, they were called Astikas. So that is one important point one has to understand here. So Jainas are also considered as Nastika Darshana because they don't accept the authority of Vedas. Then Buddha school, Buddhism, they also won't accept the authority of Vedas. They are also termed under as Nastika Darshanas. So these three are mainly considered as Nastika Darshanas. Apart from the 2 or 3 schools also has been discussed. As a result, some of them, they argue 6 Astika Darshanas and 6 Nastika Darshanas. 12 they put together, but generally 9 is standardly accepted. Now, when it comes to Astika Darshanas, there are 6 main schools which accept the authority of Vedas, and they are again subdivided into 2 categories. One is completely accepting the authority of Vedas, totally, completely accepting the authority of Vedas. Others just they accept the authority of Vedas partially, or just they accept, that's all. And maybe Sandharbikavagi in Kannada we say, contextually they pick up few ideas, few thoughts from the Vedas, and they give their own philosophy. Now, Nyaya, Silalism, or and Vaisheshika, which gave atomic theory. They're all multi-realistic theories, and the Sankhya and the Patanjali Yoga. These 4 schools, though they accept the authority of Vedas, but just contextually they borrow few ideas from the Vedas, but they're not dependent completely on Vedas. And they have got their own books, sutras. They go by that. And there are other 2 schools called Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa school is completely depending on the Vedas. They have brought the science of understanding and interpreting the sentences, the art of understanding and interpreting the sentences, Vedic statements. So for them, Vedas is infallible. You have to accept completely. And if you have got a proper problem in understanding, then they have developed a science by which we can understand the Vedic statements without any fallacy. So they don't accept there is any fallacy in Vedic statements at all. And they also propagate attaining heaven, though they have got a God. Later, Mimamsakas has got God, moksha and all. But in generally, attaining heaven by doing sacrifices, different type of sacrifices, is what their fundamental philosophy. And of course, among them, there are 2 more schools, Jainli, Kumarila, and Prabhakara. and the other is Uttara Mimamsa, or otherwise Vedanta. So in Vedanta, you've got Advaita Vedanta, Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, Dvaita Vedanta, Shuddhadvaita Vedanta, Bheda Bheda Vedanta. There are so many subclasses in Uttara Mimamsa or in the Vedanta, but we are just taking as Vedanta as a one school. Now, Veda Anta, the literal meaning is end part of the Vedas, the final portion of the Vedas. More than that, the gist of the Vedas, the summary of the Vedas. This is what the real meaning we should take from the Vedanta. So now we have understood from the schools. Probably I will tell from the scriptures point of view, which is very important. Many people will have some questions. After explaining, then I'll be going to the philosophy portion. Now, broadly classified, we have got our Indian philosophy, Indian way of life, Indian knowledge, everything is based on Vedas. So Vedas are the essential foundational scriptures for all of us that we have to keep it in mind. Of course, there are some schools even in Hinduism nowadays who argue that they don't accept the authority of Vedas. Anyhow, and this Vedas has got 4 parts. One is Samhita. Samhita is what the mantra portion. I mean, all portions we have got mantras. Here the mantras which describe the hymn, which consists of hymns and prayers, belong to different gods and goddesses, or different deities or demigods, we can say. Like for Indra, Varuna, Rudra, Shashanka, Marut, Prajapati. These are different deities, different gods and goddesses we see in the Vedic deities. So they're praising them, praying for them. All these things are part of Samhita. And these are the mantras which are used in the yagnas and sacrifices also. And the second portion, the second part of the Vedas is what Brahmana. Brahmanas here, the Vedic mantras which describe, which gives a clear explanation how to perform Vedic sacrifices, how to construct the Vedic altars, how to perform sacrifices, what should be offered in the sacrifices, oblations. All these things has been discussed in the Brahmana portion. Then the third is Aranyaka. In Aranyaka, all these yagnas, which they used to do elaborate rituals, either small ritual or elaborate ritual, externally, that has been started internalizing the yagnas, sacrifices. So there is an external worship. Here it is more of internal worship or meditation sort of, we can say. Upasana, we can. So internalizing the actions, internalizing the external worship is what we can see in Aranyaka, more or less. And meditation, Vidya also comes under Aranyakas. The last is Jnana Kanda. These 3 also, Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, comes under Karma Kanda. Means which is discussed more of karmas, that is sacrifices, either internal or external. And the Jnana Kanda is what? The portion, the philosophical portion of the Vedas. Who am I? What is the nature of the God? What is the nature of the universe? When did it God create? How? When? Where? Why? All the, and after death, whether something exists or not. Before birth, something existed or not. So do I survive? Am I only body or something else? All the philosophical speculations we speak today. So the philosophical portion of the Vedas are seen primarily in the Upanishads, which is called nothing but Jnana Kanda. Okay. Apart from this, these Vedas are called as Shrutis. Shruti means earlier there was no written format for this Vedas. Now we see in the books. Veda means it is nothing but wisdom, actually. A treasure house of knowledge, treasure house of wisdom. Veda means it is not a big books. It is a treasure house of knowledge. And these Vedas were heard from Guru to Shishya. So this is heard. That's why it is called Shrutis. Okay. Then based on the Vedas, at some point of time, the Rishis understood, our forefathers understood that common folk will not be able to read all these things and understand and assimilate. They brought the Smritis called Puranas. The Vedic ideas, the Vedic philosophy has been explained with the help of anecdotes, with the help of stories, which may belong to gods and goddesses, or kings, or some great people, great ones. So, what is dharma? What I should do, what I should not do? All this ethics, morality, Vedic philosophy, Vedic ideas has been explained with the help of examples or anecdotes, especially that is we see in Puranas. And the Puranas are nothing but the part of the Smritis. And to understand Vedas, we have got Vedangas, which are auxiliary to Vedas, which is Shiksha, means phonetic, then Vyakarna, grammar, Chandas, prosody, then Nirukta, which is lexicon, and Jyotisham, astrology or astronomy, and Kalpa, which is rules of rituals. These are the 6 parts of Vedas which will help us to understand the Veda. Now, apart from that, we have got Upangas also. Anga means part, Upa, extra parts. What is that? One is Mimamsa. Now, the Mimamsa Shastra, which I said, this Mimamsa is, there is a bit difference. You have to understand. Here it is a Mimamsa is a study of analysis. And Nyaya, again, Nyaya Shastra is different, and this Nyaya, it is a here logical arguments and logical reasoning, how to develop the logical thinking, all these things. Then the third is Dharma Shastras, the fourth is Puranas, and the fifth is what? Itihasa. Now, Ramayana and Mahabharata doesn't come under Puranas. Ramayana and Mahabharata comes under Smriti, but they are Itihasas, history textbooks, history books. So, Ramayana is the first history book in the world, and the biggest history book in the world is what? Mahabharata, which contains 1 lakh slokas. Anyhow, apart from that, there are Upavedas also, like Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, then Gandharva Veda. All these things comes under Upavedas. Then apart from in the Smrutis, Dharma Shastras, I said, there are different type of Dharma Shastras, Manusmruti, Apastamba Sutra, all these things comes under here. Now, Shruti is very important for us. Smrutis are supporting, and all Upavedas, Upangas, and all these things is what? Just to understand the Vedic knowledge. So this one chart you should have in your mind regarding the scriptural framework of the Indian philosophy or the Hindu philosophy, then you will be able to understand. Why I thought about particularly about the framework of the Indian scriptures, I would like to tell you. Many times people say, oh, that is in our Vedas. For example, someone asked, on the lighter side, I asked, I'm telling you, some 4 or 5 years before, one of the young volunteer, I know him from his adolescent age. So once he phoned me. Then he said, Swamiji, my parents are asking, because now 25 plus, my parents are asking me to marry. I said, fine, okay, marry. If you wish, you marry. Yes, Swamiji, but the problem is, now what type of girl I should select? I said, you discuss, and you discuss with your parents or maybe elders, and you try to discuss. No, Swamiji, I wanted to ask you. Then I asked, what do you mean? He said, Swamiji, because you are a knowledgeable man, you know many things. So I thought I will get some feedback, or I will get some upadesham that what type of girl I should select for marriage. Then I said, fool, it is a wrong dial. It is not my subject, or neither I've got experience nor I've got any knowledge about this. It's a wrong dial. So please keep the phone and you ask your parents or some elders who are married. Then they'll be able to give you the practical wisdom. I'm not able to give that. Anyhow, similarly, many times, for an example, I should eat in a right hand and I should not eat in a left hand, which is generally practiced in India. Of course, now things are changing, no doubt. People don't bother for all these things. Why? Because many times authority of Vedas is so important in our culture, because Vedas say, and you put a banyan leaf, the tip portion of the banyan leaf should be put in a left side. It is just easy, and it is advantageous or whatever. The practical aspect it consists, but they thought, people say, oh, because Vedas say. So how to, whether you eat in banana leaf, or whether you eat in a steel plate, whether you eat in a silver plate, Vedas doesn't say at all. So these are called lokacharas actually, or maybe it may be in some Dharma Shastra granthas. So this you have to understand very clearly what is the role of Veda, what is the role of Dharma Shastras and all. Then these confusions will not be there. For example, when you do Arati, when you do in Sri Vaishnavas, they do particular way. In Shaivas, they're a particular way. Or even northern part of India, southern part of India, there are different ways. Is there Vedas discussed anything how to do Arati? No, it has not discussed. Either it is a by practice, or some saints have done, or some local, some texts are there which are available, which speaks of it. So when we say that anything authoritatively that it belongs to Veda, Vedas have said, you have to have a very clear idea. So that's what I wanted to tell. Now, this Nyaya Darshana, when I say, Darshana will have a Darshanakara. So similarly, for example, Nyaya Shastra is being given by Gautama. Gautama Rishi has got Gautama Sutras. Similarly, Vaisheshika, if you ask, it is also Vaisheshika Darshana. It has been given by Kanada. And Sankhya, Kapila Rishi, Kapila Maharshi or Kapila Rishi, for example. Then Yoga means Patanjala Rishi. Then Purva Mimamsa, if you see Jaimini, he gave in a sutra form. They belong Vedas, no doubt. They accept Vedas and they're there to protect the Vedas. But at the same time, they have given their own darshanas, that is the text. So similarly for Vedanta, who is the founder? If you ask all these philosophies, they were there. They gave only in a sutra form, in a darshana form. So what is darshana? If you remember, pramana, prameya, and prayojana. These are the 3 points we have discussed. So similarly for Vedanta or Uttara Mimamsa, the darshanakara is what? Vedavyasa. He wrote Brahma Sutra, Sharirika Mimamsa Sutra or Brahma Sutra, which we have heard. So he has given sutras, formulas. Based on that, the Vedanta has developed. So this also you have to understand. So apart from that, we have got Upanishads. This Brahma Sutra, which has been around 555 sutras, which has been composed by Vedavyasa, it is based on what? It is based on Upanishads. If you study few Upanishads, and if you go to Brahma Sutra, you'll be able to understand. So this particular sutra has been more or less taken by the particular Upanishad. From Rodanyaka Upanishad, from Chandogya Upanishad, from Katha Upanishad, from Isha Upanishad, from Mandukya Upanishad. So the 555 sutras given by Badarayana or Vedavyasa is based on primarily on the Upanishads. So this also you have to understand. Now, after discussing this at a broad canvas, I hope you are able to understand. Probably if not, try to make some notes and link the dots or connect the dots, then you'll be able to come. Now, Prameya Vichara already I have told. Pramana Vichara I would like to tell. Probably some of you might feel it is very boring or very dry sometimes, but these things are very important if you are going to understand things deeply. So now Pramana is what? 6 instruments of knowledge, which is totally accepted in Indian philosophy. Of course, in some other theistic schools of Vedanta, they bring few other things, but classical philosophy has accepted 6 systems, 6 instruments, which are called Pramana. Prama means knowledge. Prama means knowledge. Pramana means the right instruments of right knowledge or the right instruments of knowledge. Which gives the right knowledge? Pramana. Prameya is what? The content or the subject of the knowledge. Then Pramatru or Pramata is the knower. Who is getting the knowledge? Pramatru or Pramata, both are right. Okay. Now Pramana, the instruments of knowledge has been discussed is under 6. We have got 6 instruments of knowledge. The first is called Pratyaksha Pramana. Pratyaksha means direct perception. Now I am talking and you are hearing. So this is what called direct perception. Whether Shantivratananda is talking or not, there is no one else to confirm, because yourself you can confirm because you are hearing through your ears. Or if, because my video is on, you can see me directly through your eyes. This is what direct perception. Now, in Dublin, how is the weather? If you want to know, you cannot know directly because you are not in the Dublin. So you need some other aids. So whoever is in Dublin, you have to ask them, or you have to Google, or you have to depend on news or whatever. Now, this is a pratyaksha, direct perception. The direct perception is possible through 5 sense organs. Jnanendriyas, we say, either ear, eyes, nose, tongue, and skin. 5 Jnanendriyas. Through 5 Jnanendriyas, we get a direct perception. These are nothing but, this is brought under pratyaksha pramana. Okay. Now, the standard example which is given is the second type of pramana is what? Anumana. So again, the probably the one important note you should keep it in mind. Anumana means don't take Kannada Anumana. So here Anumana means it is inference. Anumana means not Kannada Anumana, it is Sanskrit Anumana. Anumana means here Shastriya Sanskrit Anumana, means it is inference. How to understand? The standard example is given for this inference is, in my hometown, at distance, there is a mountain, there is a hill. On the top of the hill, or from the hill, there is a smoke. Then what happens? What do you think that? Oh, that means there is a fire accident, or there is a forest fire in the hill. You have not seen the fire, you have seen only the smoke. Based on the smoke, you have decided that there is a fire in the hill. How did you? Because in the kitchen you see, and you burn paper, you see the smoke and fire. And when you're cooking, you are seeing, of course, now gas stoves, electric stoves are coming. That becomes slowly, this examples has to may become redundant. But more or less, we have got all of us got exposure. That's why I'm telling you, wherever fire is there, smoke is involved. So I saw in X, I saw in B, I saw in C, I saw in K. So many places, fire and smoke are, they have got a relation, and wherever there is a smoke, there will be fire always, more or less. So that's why. So this, based on direct perception, some fact I have got a direct perception and some other I don't have, but based on the concomital relationship we use, word, which based on relationship, we infer that yes, there is a fire in the hill. For an example, yesterday I heard a, alarm bell of my neighbor. Day before yesterday I had heard. 1 week before I heard at 6 a.m. 10 days before I had heard. 20 days before I had heard. And today I am not hearing. What is the possibility? Either he is not there, or his alarm is not working, or he may not be there. He might have gone to heaven or hell. So this type of 3, either 1 or 2 or 3, then we go knock the door. If he opens, fine. Otherwise, if he has gone to somewhere, fine. Otherwise, then we may have to call the police or ambulance or whatever to find out whether he is alive or not. So based on this direct perception, so many relations, we infer, yes, this might have this. All our scientific explanations, scientific theorems, scientific experiments comes under this inference actually. Okay, these are the 2. And the third, these are the 2 things which is accepted by all schools of philosophy and which we use directly in every day. This is called Laukika Pramana even. This is used in the empirical life. Then the third type of pramana is what? Comparison, that is upamana. We compare and we try to understand. So it is not often told in the scriptures, but once in a while we discuss. And the other is arthapatti and anupalabdhi, which probably some other time I will tell. And I have to discuss today Shastra Pramana, which is very important. Now, all these pramanas are Laukika pramanas. Pratyaksha and Anumana has been accepted by all 6 systems of philosophy, no doubt. But when it comes to Upamana, everyone doesn't accept. Then when it comes to Arthapatti and Anupalabdhi, only Purvamimamsa and Uttaramimamsa only accepts. And when it comes to Shastra Pramana, authority of Vedas, they accept. All the schools, philosophy accept either completely or contextually. Basically, they accept the authority of Vedas. Now, when I say Shastra Pramana, what does it mean? The Pramana which is based on the scriptures. Fine, what scripture? Now you say this, for an example, I bring a particular book. It is very holy book, Swamiji. So such and such a statement is in this book. So you have to accept. So any book can be taken, but here when we say Shastra Pramana for the Vedantins, it is Vedas and especially Upanishads. And in the Pramana, we have got Shruti Pramana, Smruti Purana. Smruti Pramana. Smruti Purana means Bhagavad Gita. We have given special status for that. And Shruti Pramana is Vedas or especially Upanishads. Now, why we have given so much importance to Vedas? This is one more point probably I would like to explain. When we understand, when we know many things, we have to understand, we have to know, based on that only all our life, all our transactions, all our discoveries are involved, no doubt. It is wonderful, but at the same time, it has got its own limitations. It has got its own fallacies. For example, I am egoistic or I am angry, then my understanding a person will be has got limitation. Whereas this Vedas were given by, actually, it is given by, it is apaurushaya. It is not by any person. It is eternally existing. And if at all, if it has been created, if you think, it is given directly by the God. So for the Rishis, for them it only revealed. So it is, one is apaurushaya. It is free from any individual authorship, the Vedas. The second is, it is infallible because there is no human mind involved there in creating or in developing. It is only for the Rishis, it was revealed. So whatever the human mind will have limitations, all these limitations, the Vedas are free from limitations. That's why it is called very important. This is the second point. The third is, Vedas are not meant for our day-to-day actions. Day-to-day actions means whether to eat or not, or whether I said, whether I, selecting a bride or a bridegroom, what type of bride or bridegroom I should select. All these things Vedas doesn't speak. Vedas only speak of little ethics and morality, little more than that. It speaks of the sacrifices which cannot be understood by naturally, by our mind or by perception or inference. So only it is a revelatory text. More than that, they discuss about the Purva, Punya and Papa, and Swarga, and Vedantic ideas when it comes to philosophical portion about the soul, about the God, about the nature of the creation, which we cannot generally perceive from our naked mind. That all these ideas has been discussed or has been seen, can be understood by the Shastra Pramana, which is nothing but Vedas. Particularly for Vedantins, it is Upanishads. So it is free from fallacy. It is free from all the limitations of the intellect. As a result, we can rely upon this Shastra Pramana, which is nothing but the Vedas and especially about the Upanishads. Now, Advaita Vedanta also indirectly, it demands that we should have a Shraddha. We need to have a Shraddha in the Upanishads. Shraddha means it is not a blind faith or a blind belief. It is not just blind faith or blind belief. You can question the Vedas, authority of the Vedas and Upanishads. You can discuss, you can analyze, all these things fine. But you have to, with an open-minded, you have to understand the Vedas and Upanishads. When they mean Shraddha, with an open mind, in the open mind, try to understand the Vedas. With an open mind, try to understand, try to experience the Vedic truths. That is what the meaning of the Shraddha here. So this is what we have to, interestingly or importantly, you have to understand. Now, Vedavyasa, when I said before that also Vedanta was there, but in a Darshana format, in a philosophical structural point of view, Vedavyasa gave through Brahma Sutras. Anyhow, now Upanishads has to be studied. Why? Because these are the primary text for the Vedanta, where they discuss about the nature of the self, 6 items: nature of individual self, nature of supreme self, the nature of the world, nature of liberation, nature of bondage, and the way or the means to attain the liberation. Now, why should I study Vedanta? Already I said, Atyantika Dukkha Nivrutti and Paramananda Prapti. Cessation of complete suffering annihilation of complete suffering, and attaining of the immortal bliss, supreme bliss. This is what the prayojana. So by studying Vedanta, can you become scientist? For example, you are working in quantum mechanics. So by studying Advaita Vedanta, your knowledge about quantum mechanics, will it improve directly? No. Now you want to increase your bank balance. For that, if you study Vedanta, will it help? No. Or you want, for example, professional growth. You are a CEO of a company. In general, I am saying. Now there is a called soft skills. So do I get soft skills from Vedanta directly? No. So Vedanta's primary goal is what? To make you understand who are you or who am I. Now, the moment we understand, detachment comes, or understanding becomes proper as a reaction or as a, what you say, with the open-mindedness and objective thinking and all these things, because we can become a good administrators, we can become a good people, a good husband, good wife. All these corollaries has been derived these days, and which is given much importance for all these things. Never mind. But the Vedantas, the primary goal is what? To make us to understand who are we and to get liberation from this cycle of birth and death. This is what you have to understand. Probably one or two important points are there. Few more important points I will be able to discuss in the next class, or in between I will discuss. And I will be taking Mundaka Upanishad from the next class or after one or two classes. So I very clearly in the beginning of this class I told I am taking class and not the lecture. So the class will have a connection from one series to another. That is important first point. The second is you should make some notes. You should try to understand. You should make some notes and you should try to read and come. Or after class, you should at least, if not at least after class, you should try to read the text or the portion which we discussed. Then what happens? You'll be able to understand things in a better way that will reflect on your life, on your understanding. Your quality of life becomes better and your understanding all these things becomes better, because every day, every week you are spending 1 hour, isn't it? So if it has to be fruitful, if it has to give the more results in understanding and in the quality of life, etc. So I appeal all of you that to make some homework, to make some notes, and to rethink a bit here and there, then definitely your understanding of these Upanishads becomes better, and definitely it will improve everyone's quality of life. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu. Yes, Samit, any question?
One transactional question is on the Upanishad. Any specific text you want us to go through? I have one which is written by Swami. Swami Gambirananda.
That's fine. Mundaka
That's
Upanishad written by anyone is fine.
Because one is the translation. If there's no explanation, it's very difficult to understand. That's a general understanding I have discovered now.
But Gambiranji's the book is the beauty is, the essence of Shankara Bhashya is given in a beautiful snapshot form. Bird eye view, we can say. One of the best translations. Yeah.
So that is one. The other is this whole, not too sure what the question is, but the fundamental ethos in Vedanta or in Advaita Vedanta is knowledge is it's a especially in Advaita Vedanta we are talking about knowledge, and hence a lot of the discussions are trying to logically come to some conclusion. Of course, there's still some faith that is eventually needed. Uh, it runs a bit contrary to accepting the authority to start off.
Yes, I know.
So I'm
Yes.
curious to know why we are, while
So there it comes.
the problem of accepting the authority of Vedas is we don't know all the Vedas, so we just know something. So I don't know how we kind of work with that.
Yes, that I will take in the next class. Like we try to analyze the Vedantic ideas. I mean, the Vedanta, there's a methodology called Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. Shruti is Vedic, again Vedanta or Upanishads. Yukti is what? Logical reasoning, and Anubhava is experience. When any Vedantic principle, when it has been explained, when it has been given, or when it is taught, then it has to fulfill all these three criteria. Then only the Vedic philosopher's philosophy or his ideas has been accepted. If you read for an example, very clearly, Taittiriya Upanishad Shankaracharya Bhashya, very clearly we can see these three things. So he used Upanishads as a scriptural testimony, and he discusses and he gives lot of arguments, points where yukti, which is logical, why should I accept this or why should I not accept that? And the third is anubhava, experience. So the Vedanta finally it concludes ends with anubhava. Whatever the truths, whatever the philosophy, whatever the views they are discussing, everything should at end at it should in anubhava. That is the beauty of it. So that portion, Shruti, Yukti, Anubhuti, I have to take in the next class. Yeah, this itself it took away time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that it's not so much a question, a comment or thought, is at least the way I see it, right? Because the Vedas are not all written, and even the compilation of the four Vedas is, I don't know whether there is a perfect compilation. Nobody knows whether there is a perfect compilation because it was essentially passed on orally. And the translation of Veda essentially is knowledge. So knowledge about there is a knowledge about the material world and the knowledge about Brahman, or knowledge about what is beyond the material world. By definition, the material world knowledge is constantly evolving, like science is evolving, and there are changes. What was proven 3 months, 30 years ago. So that is where I think the disconnect is, because a lot of the material knowledge, while I can accept that what is not material may not change, and hence it's good to accept the authority to start off. The material knowledge is very difficult to accept the authority, because material knowledge, rules of life has changed over time, and it
That's
will
what I
change
said.
based
I
on
mean,
circumstance.
see, the Vedas doesn't speak of all these things at all. For example, whether to eat dosa or not morning. So now the dietitian says it is better to be avoided because it has got a lot of carbs. Now, what Vedas say about eating dosa? If you ask, Vedas doesn't come into this at all. The Vedas role, the Vedas function doesn't lay in that at all. It only at the best, it comes in Smritis only. Whatever food you take, it should be sattvic and it should be easily digestible, and it should not bring unnecessary commotions or lethargy or overactiveness or hyperactiveness from in your body and mind. That's all speaks. That's all you see mostly. Not, I mean, here and there maybe sees fragments, but mostly it's seen in the what is it, Dharma Shastras basically, which is the part of Smritis. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Everything people keep on saying that it is from Vedas, but when you ask, can you give a reference? But they'll not be able to. So that's where we have to be very clearly understand. We should understand that what is the role of Vedas, what Vedas consists, and what is the role of Vedas. We should understand very clearly.
And how does one use the? There are parts of the Vedas which is not Jnanakanda, right? The Samhitas, and the Brahmanas, and the Aranyakas, which at least I have not been exposed to. I don't know when somebody. Uh, how does one ignores it, or uh, how does one use some of that? Is it
See,
relevant from
the
a
broad
philosophical
canvas,
pursuit, or is it?
yeah, when at broad canvas, when we read all that, when you study deeply, you'll be able to understand it is nothing but the refining of the personality. Initially, in the Vedas, you see, oh, I want good progeny. I want to be free from all the enemies, free from all the natural disasters, and I want more fields, wealth, progeny, wealth, and security, all these things which we see. Okay, for that I'm sacrifice, I'm doing this sacrifice, I'm doing this homa, I am doing this yagna and all. It starts with. Then slowly, slowly, he stops thinking about himself. He starts asking more about for the family. Then slowly, slowly, then people will start, yeah, ending with asking for a community, for the world or whatever. There you see the refinement of personality is happening slowly, slowly. And they become more indrawn. Oh, we say enough life, this materialistic life. Okay, I'm 60, I'm in the life, I'm living in the world, I have to work and I have to get some money to take care of my family. That's it. Apart from that, let me spend my time in some other thing, maybe in hobby or in a passion or in a music or some higher things, or meditation or studies. So it is nothing but refinement of personalities we see. The same process we can see in Vedas also. Initially, they were all obsessed with the. Initially means the prayers. It says that I want that, I want this, and etc. Kamya karma we say generally. Then slowly, slowly it gets broadened. I-ness gets broadened, and slowly it gets internalized. And afterwards, I don't need anything. I want the truth and truth alone. So all these now Upanishads are the broad canvas. I can put it in Pancha Mahayagnas, which is the Vedic view of life. There are called Pancha Yagnas, 5 type of yagna, which every human being has to do. That is what the Vedic way of life. Probably I'll discuss in the next class. There, when you see that, you'll be able to understand how it is universal and how it is all inclusive. But when we say Vedas and Purvamimamsa means, oh, it is only doing yagna yagas, that's all we think actually. But it is much more than that.
And Purva Mimamsa, if one has to get an exposure to Swamiji, what is really the source to go through?
Yeah, probably in the given point of time, our given time and all, I feel like 6 systems of philosophy, which are a few books are there. If you read, you will get you may not understand the full depth about the Vedas, Purva Mimamsa, but you will get an overall picture of what is Purva Mimamsa. Like there's an introduction to Indian philosophy by Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. But during my study times, I read one Dattan Chatterjee, which is available soft copy and hard copy also. That is Introduction to Indian Philosophy, which is in a very simple manner you can read. And I think one more is there, Chandradhar Sharma, that book. So when you read this, the basic philosophy and the whole overall philosophy of the Purvamamsa you'll be able to understand. I think that should be enough. Why? Because when we are done with the mostly of the worldly life, the basic instincts, basic desires are more or less taken care, and we have understand the limitations, and we are progressing, and we are leaning towards more of meditation. We are leaning towards more of knowledge per se, or spiritual path. If any one of us, without reading Vedas at all, even without knowing even one sentence of Veda, that means the Purvamimamsa, whatever has to do in our life, the role of Purvamimamsa in our life has been done either in this life or in the previous life. So we need not to bother. If you ask me, that's what I would like to say. If your basic things are clear, and if you are thinking of higher life, higher values, and especially spiritual centered life, God centered life, I think Purvamimamsa's role has been done in you or in me. So we can go for the Upanishads directly. Of course, it has its own values. I don't say no. But by the time you read, study, understand, and probably put into practice little, by the time it needs at least 20, 30 years.
We did cover a lot of the summarization of Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Nyaya
Yeah.
In your earlier.
Early introduction classes, yes.
Yeah. That is all from my side. So I don't know whether anybody else has a question.
Any other questions for anyone? Otherwise, we will end.
Swamiji, I want to know about Anumana. Is that Anumana logical reasoning?
Yes, it is a logical reasoning, no doubt, but it is the correct translation will be, right translation will be inference.
Okay.
Logical reasoning is required in many of them, but there it is inference. Logical inference, you can say Anumana means. Anumana. Mana is what measuring, Anu afterwards. So based on your sensory perceptions, you are measuring your sensory perceptions and you are coming into conclusion. After having sensory perceptions and measuring the sensory perceptions, afterwards you are coming into some conclusion. I mean, that's what the literal meaning of the Anumana. Anumana.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Yeah.
And one more thing is, I read few pages from Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Introduction to Indian Philosophy. In that book is very thick itself and it contains lots of pages. Will I be able to complete it? That's what I felt. But the book was very interesting, very knowledgeable. It was really very good.
Yes, no doubt. Yeah, I think we have got enough time. I think few pages daily. If you do, I mean, there's a beautiful saying recently. I mean, just someone had put in the WhatsApp status or whatever. Every day, 20 minutes. If you spend in 1 year, you can master a subject. Just
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes. So even 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes, keep on reading the Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan book. Probably in few months, probably you'll be able to read volume 1 and volume 2.
Yeah, that's a positive way to finish the book. Thank you, Swamiji.